And you are listening to Livewire with Jenny B.
G'day.
And Pauly P. G'day. And I must welcome Vlad and another Pauly Stewart into the studio.
Double Paulies.
Look out.
That's right. Well, look, welcome to Triple R.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me here.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a retrospective show we do here on a Saturday night. Livewire, you know.
Mate, I love this show. I love your special on the Ramones where you played about 14 songs in about 12 minutes.
Yeah,
so yeah, that was great.
That was amazing.
Yeah, well,
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right.
And then into the next song straight away.
Yeah.
It'd be one of those bands that if you just woke up in your sleep, all you'd hear is 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, and you just be ready.
Very influential for us, the Ramones. Our drummer, Colin Buckler, was a huge Ramones fan, and I know he's listening tonight. So,
is he? Great.
Yabba yabba yay.
All right.
Hey.
Yabba,
Well, look,
yabba, you bastard.
Well, welcome, Vladimir and Paul. I remember your band. It's probably, it's not like this is your life, but from the 80s when I was a young
Wow.
fella going to see bands for the first time. And, I don't want to piss right in your pocket, but your band taught me a lot about going out to places because, most of the venues were overage and I'd be trying to get in because I was young. And it was a really crazy time. Tell me a bit about your memories of the Dockers.
Well, speaking of underage, we helped a few people get in underage. There was one night at the Morty Alec Hotel where we let in 2 young blokes at the back door through the kitchen. And turns out years later they form a band called Jet.
Really?
And the Sester Brothers. And
right.
they always, they've talked about that actual evening, and that's, I wonder how many others we've let in the back and gone on.
We certainly did a lot of under 18 gigs, and at one stage they had us playing on the back of a train around Melbourne, and we stopped at railway stations, and there were a lot of young crew there, and then we went around the Port Phillip Bay on the back of a hovercraft. These were all for anti-alcohol Victoria, and we just went laden with cartons of orange juice full of vodka, so they were they were really good times.
Well, that's good. A lot of wholesome children saw those gigs too, and they were all pretty much drinking Coke the whole time, or cola anyway.
We supported Kids in the Kitchen once too, so we supported some of the
they're
bopper bands.
Kids,
Yeah.
And for those people listening that maybe the generation has changed, probably Jet seem like an old band these days, Vlad, but your band started in 1982.
1983, and it was for one gig only, because Billy Walsh from the Cosmic Psychos, who people will have heard on Triple R here, had parking fines and needed to. He had one band together, and they needed a support band for the main band, and the gig was at a pub in Port Melbourne, so we said, we'll call ourselves the Painters and Dockers. There were 9 people on stage, and a guy who lived next door didn't like the music and jumped the fence with an axe. This is all true. It sounds like bullshit. It's true. Jumped the fence with an axe, chopped up the mixing desk.
What the?
An all-in brawl started, and because it was the real Painters and Dockers pub, when the police came, they said, no, you guys aren't allowed to come in. So the cops and the real Painters and Dockers started fighting. Kids started screaming. There was blood. There was vomit. And I looked out at this crowd and went, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Good, clean fun.
I love this
What an
shit.
amazing first show.
And then the next day, was it Gideon Haigh wrote an article in The Age called, it was headed Bold Bar Band Furioso. And I always remember that, and that kind of got a bit of publicity when you least expected it, and it kicked off the whole...
Our next 4 gigs were banned after that first one, but by the 5th gig you couldn't get in because of this radical ban.
That's good.
We couldn't actually play for took us about 3 years of playing until we could actually string the songs together properly.
But it wasn't just all hype. You had the Love Planet record came out in 85?
That came eventually. When we first started playing, though, we'd do Stepping Stone by the Monkees for like 35 minutes. That could be the whole set.
That sounds riveting.
Yeah.
Well, we did Hunters and Collectors song, didn't we?
Talking to an Italian.
Just changed the lyrics a little bit because at the time they had a percussionist, Greg Pirano, playing. Bashing a big gas tank, like one of those
gas cylinder.
Porter gas cylinders. Yeah, that was part of their shtick. And so we adopted that too, but just changed the lyrics a bit.
We just set out to just take as much piss out of the whole thing as we put. Everyone was taking themselves far too seriously in in Melbourne in the early 80s.
It was very black.
Very black.
Very much.
Yeah.
Taking their parents' depressant pills. So we'd get on stage and our jocks covered in fish and stuff like that. We just
And you had a
were
lot of
out
fun. A lot of fun doing it.
yeah, mate, we'd play with the models and they'd have a single big on love and we'd do big on drugs. And, so we just took the piss out of it and had a ball. And people really liked it because we didn't take ourselves too seriously.
Right. We'll hear something from Love Planet. It's a song called "You're Sus." Now, I just want to know: have you ever actually met Nick Cave?
Nick Cave, actually, I met him at the Ghost of the Civil Dead after party, and someone said, "Oh, this is, Pauly Stewart from the Painters and Dockers." He said, "Oh, you guys!" I was on a plane, and someone said, "Listen to this, mate," and put these headphones on. It was "You're Sus," and he loved the fact that there was the line, "Who do you think you are, fucking Nick Cave?" So yeah, he really liked it. And,
I actually met Nick Cave years before all of this. I met him in the 70s when he was in. I didn't meet him. I use that word. I had a confrontation with Nick Cave.
Oh, wow.
Because I met him. I was at Teachers College, Melbourne State Teachers College, as it was known then, part of Melbourne University now. But it's I was at school there, and I had one of those union nights, where you had a band on. And one night they had the Boys Next Door, and Nick was in that band, and I remember being really in a jovial mood, high on lemonade and red cordial. And
Orange
I
juice.
went up to him at the end of it and I said, are you a real punk or are you just an angry private school boy? And he just looked at me and told me to F off.
Yeah.
And that was my first and only meeting with Nick Cave, and, I guess I deserved it.
So you didn't mind the line in the song then?
No. At one stage too, we were involved with Richmond Recording Studios, and Lobby Loyde was our manager, and he got all the spoons in the studio and drilled little holes in them, so the birthday party couldn't use them to hit up, heroin. And when Nick went to make the album Kicking Against the Pricks, their gear was shit out, so he borrowed the Dockers gear. So
Really?
Yeah. So on that album, it's
all your stuff.
It's all our stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're listening to Livewire. We're talking to Vlad and Paul from the Painters and Dockers. Or is it just Painters and Dockers? There's no that?
It's whatever you like, I think.
I've had a few
Painters and
people, they get
Dockers
quite irate when I put that in front of their bands. But
Choose your own adventure.
Yes, choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
so you're not one of these people that records in a band and listens to your own stuff every day?
I have to say no, I'm not. I do listen to maybe one or two other CDs in between, and I have done it in the last 30 years. But no, that's good to hear that. It brings back the old days for sure.
And that's from the Love Planet record. Have they ever been reissued on CD of late? Or
I'm not.
Not of late, but
Actually, we're here tonight sitting out in the studio. Out there's our friend Gabriel, and she's trying to get all the Docker stuff up on iTunes because we're sick of people asking us where to get it. So hopefully that might happen.
All right, and stay tuned if you're a Triple R listener, because we are playing a live CD of the Painters and Dockers from 1988 tonight, and later on we will have a copy to give away to a subscriber. I did want to ask you, Vlad, though, I was quite shattered in the late 80s that you left the band. And, it was a big point because, your guitar playing was paramount to the sounds of those of the Love Planet.
Why, thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm just reading what you've written.
What I've written, yeah. You missed the other bit of it.
Yeah.
But, before I ask you why you
penis.
left the band, me and my little group of Dockers fans of the band in the day, you know what the big rumour was?
Yeah.
That you joined This Is Serious Mum.
Oh, Paul can probably speak to that rumour because
Because he started it?
I don't know if he started it, but there is a legend around town about that. And,
I was actually out for dinner last night at an African restaurant with Ron Hitler Barassi. Would you?
Really?
Yeah.
How does he go eating with the balaclava?
Mate, he is the nicest, sweetest guy you've ever met in your life. Ron Hitler Barassi.
You played at the Naji Rock Awards at the Maya Music Bowl, and I think they won an awardism. They were pretty good at accepting awards.
There's always been the rumour that the Dockers were tism because I think a guy wrote a review and said this band's shithouse. They're like the Dockers in balaclavas. Seriously, and it stuck from that. So over the years we've been asked, "Are you guys TISM?" And for a while we said no. Now I just say yes.
Yes, we are. Easier.
Because all jokes aside, TISM are probably my all-time favourite rock and roll band without any doubt whatsoever. And we did a few gigs with them over the years, and they were fantastic. Loved them.
Very good band. And what's further for the Dockers? Is there I know you reformed for the EG Awards a couple of years back.
And that was so much fun, Jen and Pauly, and the pressure's sort of on to do some more gigs. So I think maybe this sort of summertime we might have to pull out the dresses and get back into them and get up on the stage and do a bit of docking. Do a bit of docking on, yeah.
But you did play a set not long ago, just with a 3-piece version.
Yeah, we've been mucking around doing a bit of a trio gig just to have a bit of fun, and it was actually fantastic because there's a lot of people who come along now and grew up with the Dockers. I mean, I meet people who grew up with the Dockers. The other day, I had to go into the AFL of all places and meet the guy in charge of the multicultural unit about this sort of thing that I was working on, and I walked in and he's got this big plush office, and I go, this guy's going to think I'm fucking crazy, or And I walked in, he went, Dockers, yeah, and he used to come and see us play, and so we grew up. Nostalgia's a great thing. The longer we stay alive, the bigger the myth of the Dockers grows. So
well, it's good that you're all still around to remember this. I was sad to hear you lost your bass player a few years back.
Phil Nelson, without any doubt whatsoever, was the founder and the driving force behind the Painters and Dockers. He stayed sober while the rest of us got sort of messed up, and it was his band. The Painters and Dockers were his band.
And he was the designated driver, so we had to go wherever.
And he was in charge of the money, and he was a great guy, and sadly missed. He loved his rock and roll. He was a geologist by trade, but threw that into join a rock and roll band, form a rock and roll band, and without any doubt, we owe it all to him.
And he made that song we just played, Your Sus, so memorable with the bass playing in that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I've got a million questions to ask you, but I know you're busy. You've got another interview at Triple M or something tonight. You've already told me.
Off to Triple M.
I remember seeing you on a current affair once. I think there was a pastor camp. I'll never forget his name.
You've got a bloody good memory,
I'm
mate.
shocked with the things that you're bringing up tonight. Your memory is
well, I just want to know.
crystal clear.
I've been wanting to ask you these questions
Mate,
for years. Is that a real person?
Yeah,
that sounds like
pastor camp.
That sounds like a fake name.
And he said we were Satanists, and he wanted the Dockers banned from radio stations and live venues because we were a threat to the youth of Australia. I tried to point out to him that we actually, because we had that song Kill, 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 and I actually pointed out to him that we ripped it off Get Smart. It wasn't even our song. So
that bred a lot of terrorists. Get Smart.
Yeah. So chill out there, bro. And but he did try to get us banned. Same in Western Australia. We had because we had an album cover sitting at the Last Supper with Jesus. The Western Australians tried to ban us over there, and for a while there it was great. We kept getting banned, so it's great. The vibe grows and the gigs go really well.
We had a group of Christians praying and reading Bibles and burning candles outside of the gig at Albany in Western Australia.
Yeah.
It was out the front of a pub.
Yeah.
But hang on, isn't that illegal?
Hysteria.
Yeah.
Well,
we were sitting in the room going, "What's that sound?" And it was the tambourines, of the crew playing.
We felt genuinely evil that night. I think there's something about having Christians
People trying to exercise
out
the
the
rock
front.
and roll
You
out of
really
you.
feel quite naughty.
It's just the rock and roll dream, really.
rock and roll dream,
I suppose. Yeah. It was very cold. I think. I don't think they would have had a very good time out there. It was, a bit bleak.
I think in New Zealand too, there was an MP that wasn't too impressed with us, and I think it was because after that tour we did of this live album that you're going to play tonight. We actually toured New Zealand that time with two Japanese gay girls called the Frank Chickens. So it was the Dockers and the Frank Chickens, and I think most nights Colin Buckley, our drummer, ended up on stage with the Frank Chickens in a wedding dress and a big bag of dildos that he threw out to the audience. It was really interesting tour, that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, memorable. Well, you are going to leave us shortly, and we're going to play Overt and Deliberate, the Painters and Dockers live at the Glue Pot Auckland. 1988.
Available. Actually, when we did that trio gig, some crew came along and they've set up a Painters and Dockers Facebook page.
I've seen that. That's great. So everyone should get on there and join it.
And you can get the live album from that if you want it. So come on, folks.
And then when there's any future Dockers gigs, that's where you'll be first to know.
That's it. And send in your requests and we'll come around to your house and
play them.
And I might move in.
Fair enough. And what memories do you have of this gig at the Glue Pot? Do you have any memories of it, or it was just...
we played with a band called the Straight Jacket Fats, Feds, who went on to be this outrageous sort of band. I thought they were Scheisenhausen and a bunch of wankers myself, but... Look, that whole New Zealand tour was crazy. We met this American guy hitchhiking, and he joined the band for the length of the tour. And we bought
You're like the Grateful Dead.
We bought an American Army helmet, and this guy became the tour manager. And we'd send him into pubs and clubs and petrol stations, and they didn't know what was happening. But no, it was great, New Zealand. Great fun over there.
All right. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us here on Livewire tonight.
Keep up the good work, guys. I love this show.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Pauly and Jen.
And we'll play... I think before we play Painters and Dockers live, I think we'll play something from Lobby Loyde, because he was obviously a great influence on you. And
actually, someone contacted me this week. They're writing a book about the people who started punk before it started.
Yep.
And there's a whole chapter on Lobby, and he was... asking me he said, what was your biggest memory of Lobby? And I said, he's the only man I know. We did a gig in the Surfers Paradise Beer Garden.
Yep.
And we got in the van afterwards, drove to Melbourne, and he smoked a big bag of spliff, a box of cigars, a carton of cigarettes, ate 12 eggs sunny side up running, and didn't stop talking the whole way. From Surfers Paradise to Melbourne. So you ended up wearing eggs if you ever spoke to Lobby.
Egg on your face.
Egg on your face.
How was he for you, Vlad, as a guitarist? Were you ever nervous sort of playing in front of him?
Oh, well, I was. I remember seeing Lobby when he was in the Coloured Balls. I was a teenager, and he had this, he had this big persona, and... he was affiliate. It wasn't wanted, I know, but he kind of had this connection with the whole skinhead syndrome, or the scenario here too in Melbourne, and so he was kind of a little bit scary to me, and a little bit, I was a little bit overawed. But yeah, as Paul said, he was a man of a million stories, and a
real pussy in real life.
Yeah,
really,
you set him up with some drinks and some cigs, and he will burn your ears for hours on end.
He told us he was Oscar Wilde's great nephew. He swore he was.
Yeah,
he could prove it. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And he is a great human being, so we'll hear from Lobby.
Can I tell you have we got time for one more
Lobby story? You can hang around all night if you want. I don't mind.
Well, my favourite Lobby story is that he says he was working on constructing a bass speaker, that could make, using an oscillator or whatever you generate a sound like that, generating a sound that is so low that theoretically you could make a whole audience lose control of its bowels. And so he said, he was working on ways that he could get this huge speaker as part of our PA, PA rig, and he was going to use it one night somewhere. I don't know where or in what situation, but just the thought. Just think about that for a minute.
Well, obviously,
at the front, that would have been good.
In rock and roll heaven, there's Lobby Loyde and Phil Nelson, just
Absolutely,
like making people have shit run down their leg.
Probably punching on,
Probably very.
But if you go to the next Dockers gig, wear a nappy. Is my
very smell.
That could be your new marketing ploy. No t-shirts, just P&D
some
nappy.
Very smelly venue somewhere.
All right. Well, thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.